5. Here we go. Welcome to the Take 3 Podcast, Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Earnest, EJ Christian, coming to you. Actually, just watched the end of the Niners-Seahawks game with Mikey, who got screwed in that game.
I don't know if there was worse officiating in this match or the evil twin referee from the Andre the Giant Hulk Hogan match.
Rematch, yeah, from 1988, the main event, yeah.
Yeah, because last time I checked, pass interference is whenever a receiver can't get the ball whenever a defender doesn't attempt to make a play.
Right?
I don't know how a linebacker who's laying on top of the receiver on like 3rd and goal decides that that's not pass interference.
Right?
That's why I don't get paid money to be an NFL official.
So what you're saying is that the referees pull the real Mitch Bennett out there?
Yes. Correct.
How much money they spend on a plastic surgeon? Anyway, this is the last podcast of 2019, last podcast of the decade. Now, granted, this show's only fucking 5 weeks old, so I mean, really?
Yeah, decade. Woo.
Of course, joined by Mike Bernier, Mike the Squid Bernier. Mikey, what's up?
My blood pressure.
I don't know why your blood pressure's up. You're a Bengals fan.
Because that was the worst officiating I've ever seen in the final 35 seconds of a football game.
Again, you're a Bengals fan. You have a draft to worry about right now at this point.
I don't have a draft.
To be fair,
draft to worry about.
The only reason you've never seen worse officiating in a Bengals game is because they're never doing well enough to be called incorrectly. So
says the Jets fan who lost to the Bengals once.
Yes. Yes.
I've seen some pretty bad officiating. Insert the Vontaze Burfict destroying Antonio Brown's life and all that post fiasco. But yeah, I guess my blood pressure's up. But you said I have a draft to worry about. I don't have a draft to worry about. I already know who they're taking. I told you 4 weeks ago they were taking Joe Burrows.
Tom Brady Burrow.
Yeah, this was the easiest draft of all time.
It's true.
Guys going to hand us 7 touchdowns in the first half against Oklahoma.
By the way, I don't want to ignore him real quick, but also Joe Lopez with us, the real Joe Lopez on Twitter. Never mind. What's up, Joe?
Yep. Hey, what's up?
Hashtag Twitter gimmick.
Yep.
That's right. All right, so this is the last show of the year, last show of the decade, all that, whatever. We're going to do some little bit today. 3 topics, of course, every week, but 2 of these topics are going to go a lot longer than usual. Now, typically every week we do 15 minutes per topic. This week we're going to go 20 minutes, at least for your two topics. Your 2 topics. Mine being
the 2 youths.
The 2 youths.
The 2 youths.
2 youths.
Hey, youths, guys.
Now I want to watch that shit tomorrow now. Thanks very much, buddy. So let's not waste your time. Let's get to the topic. Who wanted to go first, Mike? I'll have mine last.
Hold on. Can we talk about news?
Oh, that's right. News. Randy Orton got hurt tonight.
Yeah.
What the hell is that about?
I'm guessing it's the knee that is gone. Nothing has been released on the Twitter sphere. Hold on, let me check the Twitterverse and see if there's been any new updates. Joe, give the breakdown of what happened.
It sounds like they were in Pennsylvania, I think Hershey, tonight, at a Raw house show, AJ versus Orton, and things didn't go according to plan. And from what I understand, the referee had to throw up the dreaded X. That's always a bad thing. The match pretty much ended. Orton is the Iron Man. Orton's been the guy that's been around forever and a day and never ran off to go make Fast and Furious 27 or anything. So it's a little sad to see him getting, taken down with an injury, especially right around WrestleMania season. So I hope he's okay. I hope it's nothing long term, but I know he'll also be back eventually, and so will the voices in his head. So that'll be good.
By the way, Randy Orton's kind of is a babyface now, right? Sort of.
Yeah, he's been feuding with AJ, and he just signed a new 5-year contract, so he ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, he got his money.
He'll be back. It just depends on how long the injury is. But I mean, I feel like, especially if you're a top guy like that, it probably always has to gut you if it's like WrestleMania season.
Of course, man. And only that, this angle with him and AJ Styles is actually pretty cool too.
No, it's a good feud. It was good when they did it last year at WrestleMania too.
So there's a video circulating on the interweb of after he went for the RKO and landed awkwardly. It's his left knee, and it doesn't. I mean, there's some lady in a hood's head in the middle of the video, which, hey, David Moselvich, next time you decide that you want to record a video, why don't you make sure there's nobody's head in the middle of it?
At least you got a video. At least you got a video, though, right?
But it's
why I don't go on Twitter.
It doesn't look like there's much bend. Like, it doesn't look like he can bend his knee all that much, so that may be the ACL, MCL, meniscus.
Ugh.
So, yeah, that didn't look good, the way they were looking at the knee. Other fun news, Chris Jericho put out a video earlier today that in his video he states that if Hiromu Takahashi beats him this coming up Saturday, January 4th, or they face the 5th, January 5th is their match. If Tanahashi beats Jericho at Wrestle Kingdom Night 2 on the 5th of January, he will be granted an opportunity at the AEW Championship. So I guess my comment about would Chris Jericho wear the AEW World Title out to his match against Tanahashi be a thing? I guess it's going to be a thing.
Yes.
I guess we answered that question.
Sure did.
Yes. I think the bigger question is, will this lead to a bigger partnership? And I think we all hope so, but I guess we'll see.
I think that it is.
Wait. Don't answer that question. That's a good topic for next week. I'm holding it.
What, because we're going to watch night 1 and then we're going to record the podcast Sunday and then night 2?
Literally, as I said it, I just thought to myself how, kind of detrimental the whole New Japan ROH relationship was. And you might disagree, and that's why it just became a good topic. So we'll just talk about it.
It was hot trash. It was hot trash.
We'll talk about it next week.
Oh, before we get to the topics real quick, also, was that Lars Sullivan stuff really news? The Lars Sullivan text?
I watched the video.
He trended on Twitter.
So it was trending on Twitter. Okay.
I mean, you know what the thing is with that? And I think someone was just trolling on Reddit, just for the record. But I saw someone try to compare it to the whole Page thing that happened a few years ago. And the big difference is, this was straight up an actual movie.
One was a hack.
Right. This wasn't something on someone's cell phone that nobody was ever meant to see. This was on websites, readily available. I guess it just took until now for someone to find it. And also, too, there is a kind of fun irony of it being, well, not fun, but there's a kind of irony of it being someone who has tweets and stuff that were highly homophobic. So,
yes. Very interesting take.
Yeah, you live in a glass house, and sometimes you got to clean up your face. I don't know what to tell you.
That's true.
Is his face glass?
Is he still an employee of the WWE? Because when I started watching in June, I saw one match, and then he was gone.
I think he's hurt.
So he went psycho crazy, and then I think he hurt his knee.
Yeah.
He went he had a case of super anxiety. And then he came back, and I think when he came back, he was wrestling a house show or two, and legitimately, I think he blew out his knee.
Okay.
Let's see here. Yeah. Sustained a severe knee injury with a predicted recovery time of 6 to 9 months.
So on the bright side, if they're smart, he'll come back with the Val Venus gimmick, and we'll just go from there.
Hello, ladies.
Well, or gentlemen, but
or Lars Sullivan can just go away.
I'd like him in NXT, but
Mike, you're really mean, dude. People need jobs here, okay? Gosh.
Okay, but I mean, the guy was a freaking car crash.
Well, I know. No one liked him. He had
that one really good match with Killian Dane in NXT.
Yeah. Right. Any other newsworthy stuff before we get started?
No. Yeah.
Did you see
what?
Braun Strowman get these hips?
I'm good.
Shakira.
I watched Lars Sullivan get something else. I'm good.
Wow.
Oh, wow, Joe.
I watched the video. I got no shame. It was 18 minutes. That's okay.
Is Lars Sullivan going to be your MVP of the week?
No.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, I might have to look up the other guy's name.
Okay, so as I said, you guys have your topics are going to be mostly the entire decade. So we're going to give you guys, instead of typical 15 minutes, 20 minutes to present your takes for the week. Again, guys, this podcast you can find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, and everywhere that podcast is curated.
Like, subscribe, thumbs up, 5-star.
Yes, right.
all
5
that
stars.
cool
Yeah,
stuff.
5 stars. Don't give me that 4 stars bullshit, okay? I'm gonna think you're a hater.
Hater.
So
Unless you're only giving them 4 stars because of me, because I'm the generated heat magnet over here. So
you're
yeah,
still getting a little reputation, buddy.
hey, that's fine with me. Wear the reputation. I am the heel.
So my take will be the last take of the show. So who wants to go first?
Mike,
well-
you should go first, because, yeah.
We kind of combined our topics here.
Yeah.
So
Clock
what
ready.
we
I gave
decided-
one to the team.
I have the clock going now. So what it is I decided that I was going to come up with the 6 topics that I was going to try to fit into 15 minutes, which is going to be an absolute train wreck. So Joe decided to take one for the team here. I decided to do the top 5 of the decade: men's, women's, tag team, moment, feud, and matches. I talked to Joe earlier today. Earnest didn't really watch a lot of the early stuff. So I'm going to make my matches list top 10. Joe may only have 5 matches. That's okay. But I thought there was a lot of really good matches in 2010 to 2019 that we need to talk about. So because I am going to go first, I want Joe to pick the first of the mini dockets that he wants to talk about.
Oh, I feel like we start lower and we build up. So let's start with one of the easier ones. Let's start with best male wrestler.
Best male wrestler of 2010 to 2019. I have a top 5 list. I'll go through my list, Joe. You can go through yours, and then we can get Earnest in for some discussion. At number 5, I have the guy who, he pops a little bit of the bubble. He is Le Champion of AEW. He was a stable piece of WWE until he went to AEW. It is Chris Jericho.
I like that.
At number 4, I have a guy who's wrestled in pretty much all 4 of the major, 4 out of the big 5 promotions in wrestling. New Japan, WWE, Impact, Ring of Honor. That is the phenomenal one, the face that runs the place, the leader of the Bullet Club for like 6 weeks, AJ Styles.
I'm with you.
All right, so third up on my list is a guy who pretty much been named the best bout machine and has a ton of potential match of the year classics in New Japan. Has taken a little bit of a backseat in AEW. That's probably why he's not higher on my list here, and that is the cleaner. That is Kenny Omega.
They need to make him a priority now. It's time. No more putting guys over. But go ahead.
At number 2, I have a guy who revolutionized the industry of professional wrestling in a very short time while he was an active wrestler. He just came back to WWE backstage. It is the pipe bomb. It is the best in the world. It is CM Punk.
Okay.
And
number one.
number one overall for the top wrestler of the day. He started on NXT as a rookie with The Miz as his pro. He's a guy who's been a stable piece, got hurt and broke our hearts, lifted our spirits after Brock Lesnar ended the streak at WrestleMania, and he is now in a feud with The Fiend. It is the leader of the Yes Movement. It is Daniel Bryan.
All right. I like the list. I like it. As a guy who wasn't watching the last decade and so, CM Punk was one of the few guys I did hear about a lot. So no surprise he's in the top 2.
Yeah, I think I can make mine really easy.
Yeah,
I pretty much agree with all of your picks, Mike. For the exact reasons you mentioned, I'd put Punk at number 1 because I know that he didn't wrestle for barely more than half of the decade, but I dare you to find someone who's left a bigger impact and maybe even had some of the better storylines and feuds. I mean, you and I both, and I think Ernest, maybe you did too, I'm not sure, started watching some older 2010 shows, and I mean right away Punk is instantly one of the highlights, and you watch it, and what was fun to me about that was watching it and being excited by what he was doing with the Straight Edge Society in 2010, and knowing that was only the tip of the iceberg for how much more awesome he gets in WWE.
Yeah, we haven't got the pipe
years.
bomb yet. We haven't gotten half of his I'm leaving with the title stuff.
Right.
We haven't gotten any.
Was
of
he a
the big
tweener?
stuff yet.
Was he a tweener or was he a heel?
as a member of the society at the beginning of 2010,
He was a
definitely
heel.
Right.
But he was the kind of heel that the crowd would get behind, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, he
turned into a tweener as he was pulling the Vince, I'm taking your title and I'm leaving.
Yes.
And then by the time he came back after re-signing his contract, he was full-fledged face.
So the only person that I'm going to disagree with on your list, and it's not that I wouldn't put him in, like, honorable mention or top 10. I think he totally deserves to be there. But I would switch him out. Huh?
Kenny Omega?
Yes. And the person who I would switch him out with is his dance partner for most of his best matches.
Kazuchika Okada?
Absolutely. And for my money, I don't know that there's a better, like, wrestler, like, in general than Okada has been in the last, like, 5 or 6 years. I think that he has absolutely been one of the main reasons why New Japan has had the resurgence that it's had. I think he's, like, him and Omega had some great matches, but I think Okada is the one who maybe doesn't get as much credit for it as he deserves, because he's had great matches with almost everybody. And, even when he wasn't the champion last year, even when he was kind of doing, like, staying away from the title as a storyline, he was still a highlight. He was still awesome. He can be very basic in the ring sometimes, but he does those basic things extremely well. Like, I dare you to find someone who has a better drop kick. Like, just flat out, just better drop kick. His finisher is a clothesline. Like, that's real. You know what I mean? And I think in a lot of ways he is, if he was more available to U.S. audiences, I think he'd be a much bigger deal. But I definitely think in the last decade, he deserves a ton of credit.
Yeah, I probably had Okada at 6 just because his mainstream appeal wasn't to the level of the other 5 guys on the list. And that's no fault of his own.
No, that's literally
New Japan decided to not send him over to Ring of Honor a couple of times in the working relationship, which, I mean, I get it. They don't want to kill the horse because they're having him wrestle as many times as they do with their own house shows and G1 and World Tag League and stuff like that.
Right.
I know a couple of those matches are 6-man tags where he doesn't have to go out there and get killed every night, but it's not one of those things where he has a ton of downtime. So, I get it. So Okada probably was the first guy out. You could have mentioned Okada's other dance partner, Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Oh my God, yeah.
You probably could have mentioned a couple guys in Ring of Honor / NXT in your Adam Cole's. Johnny Gargano probably could have gotten some talk for his run with Evolve before being signed to NXT, and then his stuff. So there's a couple of guys that are obviously going to get left off this list because it's only 5 people. But the front half of this decade, I think, really drove where it was at. I think if Punk would have been there throughout the duration, he would have probably blown the doors off of the other 4 people in this, and it wouldn't have even been really close. But Punk decided to put himself first and, take a sabbatical and leave and try UFC and all that fun stuff. So, so I don't blame him. So that is our mine and Joe's. Ernest, do you have anything to add on the wrestlers of the decade?
I mean, based on on what I know, I mean, obviously I didn't watch in the moment, but I don't disagree at all with what you have there. I mean, Jericho, obviously, what he's done in AEW especially, and of course he had a decent run in the last decade or whatever in WWE. Being in that conversation is actually great. Omega, of course, what he's done in Japan and whatnot. Again, CM Punk was the one guy to me that, even when not watching, as I said earlier, he stood out. Like, his name stood out.
Yeah.
Like I remember, while I was not a fan of the current product at the time, I still owned the network when they first came out because I wanted the library.
Okay.
I had the network the day it came out because I wanted the library more than anything else. And you always hear CM Punk's name being mentioned. When I watched the best of WrestleMania, flashbacks, and they have all the guys talking and talking on there. CM Punk was always seen to be involved in the commentary, if you will. I remember watching the Mega Powers explode piece on there, one of the documentaries they were doing on there, and CM Punk being so fucking honest about how he loved Macho, couldn't stand Hogan, and the way it worked out that way, and it made me realize, wow, I see why people like him so much. I see why he's so popular. He's so authentic. That's why.
I just want to say one other thing, and then I think we should move on to like tag teams or women or something.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of Jericho, and I do agree that he's top 5. I actually absolutely agree he's in there. I think what's interesting about Jericho's case more than some of the other guys, and I think a lot of, not that any wrestlers are listening to us, but like I think that's something that a lot of them could learn from Jericho. I don't think he makes this conversation if he doesn't leave WWE and branch out to like New Japan and AEW and all of that.
I think that
his WWE, like the last decade in WWE, I think he had some really good stuff. I don't think he had stuff to put him in best wrestler of the decade conversation. But then he reinvented his career, and at like his age and as much time as he's been in the business, I mean, he put himself into the GOAT conversation by taking a chance, and a chance that could have very easily failed. You know,
right.
He's not who he was 20 years ago.
Right.
New Japan could have been too much for him. You know, AEW could have been.
And to piggyback on what you're saying too, also, I know AEW is a blip of the decade, but what he's done in this last year at AEW, to at least make them a formidable competitor.
Absolutely,
you know, it's incredible, and he's the reason they're doing it. He's one of the reasons why they're doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he started off the decade really good with the feud with Edge. He kind of got stagnant. Did the Festival of Friendship stuff with Kevin, and then branched out and became the Painmaker and revitalized himself in Japan. You know, held the IWGP Intercontinental title, and then won the AEW World title for the first ever champion. I feel like he definitely revitalized himself by branching out.
And that's the thing, like he took chances, and I feel like he deserves a ton of credit for that, because honestly, it's not. And look, I mean, Greg, at his time in his career, at his age, and all that, like if it had failed, it could have easily just been his chance to be like, all right, I'm gonna just bow out quietly now. But he took that chance, he gave it a try, and it's literally elevated him to a whole new level. I
mean, the fact that he's not even doesn't even look in shape, but yet his persona is still huge. It all makes sense still. Like it still works.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, it's great.
All right, time to transition. Joe picked the men's. We're going to transition to my first choice, which is the tag team division. Best teams of the decade. Again, a five team list here. Joe, you go first this time, since I went first with the men's.
That makes you assume that I have an entire 5 list. I've really only got 2 that I really must point out.
Okay.
I think that no list would be complete as a top 2 without the New Day and the Usos. I think that they are far and away the 2 top tag teams of the last decade. I think they did something that a lot of people never thought could really happen, which is they kind of became main event acts in WWE as tag teams. And, you know, WWE is not the place this isn't the NWA in 1988 where the Road Warriors can print money, or the Midnight Express or the Rock and Roll Express. You know, WWE has never been the place where tag teams go to become the top acts as a thing. And, you know, in the last decade, the Usos have easily done it. The New Day have easily done it. They all deserve. You know, it's funny because, like, people still get into the conversations where it's like, well, but when's New Day going to break up and stuff? And I think it's time to just accept that maybe the answer is never, because they don't need to, because their act works really well just as it is. And it doesn't even stop them from having singles success, as Kofi showed us this year.
I think I told you this, Joe. I said that if it was ever to break up, now would be the time, because Xavier's out injured.
Yes.
And you could do a thing where one of them turns on the other one, and when Xavier comes back, it's trying to get them back together.
Right.
And that's like his thing, but a torn Achilles, you have some time to get there. I don't think you have to rush that right now if that's the way they decide to go. I agree with you. I think it's time to realize that the New Day is going to stay. I know Kofi's gone on record before and said that if they ever broke the New Day up, that he would pretty much retire.
Which I don't blame him.
Because he loves the two of them, and you know the time with those guys means more than being in some random feud. So,
right.
My top 5. The first team here, I felt like I could have left them off the list and put somebody else in there, but I was going back and forth on who I wanted at 5. It is the current Raw Tag Team Champions, Eric and Ivar, Hanson and Rowe, whatever you want to call them this week. I have the Viking Experience at 5. Those guys were really, really good as War Machine in Ring of Honor until Raymond Rowe's motorcycle accident. And then they went over to Japan and had a couple of really good matches in New Japan. And then they signed with NXT. They held the titles, never lost the titles, gave them up, and then went to Raw and decimated everybody over there. So I like what Eric and Ivar have done. I have the Viking Experience at 5. At 4, I have one of Joe's selections. I have the New Day at 4. Kofi E, Xavier. When they first formed the New Day, it took a lot to get people to buy into them. I just thought that the gimmick was fairly stale at points. But when they finally started letting Kofi and E and Woods really have fun and be who they are, I think it made a lot more sense for the New Day. So I have the New Day at 4. At 3, I have they're technically called the Undisputed Era right now. I'll always call them Red Dragon, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, former Ring of Honor World Champions, World Tag Team Champions, former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. They decimated the NXT Tag Division since they've gotten the titles back and when they had them the first time. So I have Red Dragon / Undisputed Era at 3.
Nice.
At 2, I have the other team that Joe discussed, the Usos, Jimmy and Jay. They're definitely WWE's best tag team. I know that they've had their legal problems, and that's why they're nowhere to be found right now. I get it. But you can't take away what those guys did, especially whenever they reinvented themselves and went full-fledged heel for the first time. Some of their promos right when they first turned were really, really good. So you have to give credit to those guys for reinventing themselves. And then the best tag team in the world, I think this one, there's going to be a lot of people that say it's not them because, they're Dave Meltzer's love childs. They're the king of the indies and front flips and 5-star this, that, and the other choreographical masterpieces. I have to put Matt and Nick Jackson at number 1 because of what they've done for tag team wrestling. They are the 6-time IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions. They've won the IWGP World Tag Titles. Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, PWG Tag Team Champions multiple times. I just think when you think tag team wrestling right now in the industry, you have to think of Matt and Nick Jackson. I think they make the most sense. But I felt like it was hard to keep them off of my list. Again, my tag team top 5. Number 5, the Viking Experience. Number 4, the New Day. 3, Red Dragon. 2, the Usos. And 1, the Young Bucks.
See, I was saying this to you the other day. I love the Young Bucks. I really do. I'm a big fan of theirs. A lot of their matches I think are really great. It's hard not to notice how choreographed a lot of their stuff is, and I do feel like that takes away a little bit. That's not to say that they haven't had some amazing matches in the last decade. I mean, their PWG work, their ROH work, they've obviously getting AEW going, and AEW has the best tag team division in pro wrestling today. I don't care what anybody says otherwise about that. I don't know if anyone can even make a solid argument against that, They definitely are amazing, and I do think they deserve a place. I don't think I put them at number 1, but I think they deserve a place. The one other team that I think would have made my list if I, actually put together a full list, and again, maybe they wouldn't even have been worthy of being on this list. I think if they had had a little bit more time, they could have been. And who knows what the future holds, but I think Enzo and Cass kind of deserve a little bit of a recognition. I think that they're probably the only team or one of the only teams that came up in the last decade that easily could have fit in during the Attitude Era, during the 90s, and been a huge act then too. Unfortunately, obviously, I think backstage stuff got it in the way of them being really successful in WWE on the main roster. And I don't really understand whatever happened with their ROH stuff. Like, they had that one sort of attempted angle that we saw at Madison Square Garden, and then
Mhm.
it was never followed up. And they were on Jericho's podcast not too long ago talking about it a little bit. So I mean, you should go listen to that if you haven't heard it, and you can get an idea what happened there. But like, I'll never fully understand why ROH didn't follow through with that, because as much as there was the argument of, oh, those guys aren't really ROH and stuff, it's like, well, but like, and PCO is the world champion now, so your argument is moot.
I mean,
And at the end of the
they're
day,
not ROH, but nothing is ROH. I mean,
right?
Ray
ROH
is like the second in charge of that company right now.
ROH is not the company that it was in 2005, and yeah, Enzo and Cass wouldn't have fit in that company. I think they fit perfectly fine in ROH today, and I think them and the Briscoes, if that had been followed up, if they had a feud that had lasted like 4 or 5 months, if they had a couple of big matches here and there, I, for one, would have ordered those pay-per-views and watched, and I think it would have actually been something that people really talked about in a positive light, which ROH doesn't get very much of these days.
Oh yeah, definitely would have helped spark that that rekindling of their tag team division. Another team that I went back and forth on putting on my list was the Revival.
Yes. Oh my God, them and American Alpha for 5 minutes were like the greatest thing in tag team wrestling.
Yeah, big fan of the Revival. I went back and forth between them and the Vikings.
Fair.
So that is the tag team part of discussion. You want to move on to either women's moments, feud, or matches?
I was going to say something I don't say very often, but would you like to do the women next?
Yes, please. Top 5 here again for me. Honorable mentions, we'll get them out of the way quick. Honorable mentions for me, Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks did not make my top 5.
Wow.
Also, another honorable mention to someone who's going to be fighting for the Impact Wrestling World Championship, Tessa Blanchard.
Nice.
She's an honorable mention. We'll hop right into my list. Number 5, she is the former Progress Wrestling Women's Champion, a former WWE United Kingdom Women's Champion. It is Toni Storm.
Wow, nice.
At number 4, I have the current SmackDown Live Women's Champion. It is the I'm no longer a hugger, you are all goats or sheeps or whatever she's saying, Bayley. She picked a farm animal. I don't know which one she picked. It wasn't my week to follow her on Instagram. It's Carol.
I'm a city slicker. I can't tell you that many farm animals.
Yeah, old MacDonald. They supposedly had a farm. I don't know. At number 3, I have a woman who, when she first came to this promotion, had the rocket strapped to her back. She got called up to the main roster after having the rocket strapped to her back. Her run at the beginning did not make a ton of sense. She is now part of the Women's Tag Team Champions. It is the Empress of Tomorrow. It is Asuka.
Nice.
At number 2, I have, who a lot of people may have at number 1. She is from the Queen City. I have Charlotte Flair at number 2. And I don't know how you can have a women's list and not have her definitely in your top 5, if not at number 1. She main evented the first ever women's match to main event WrestleMania. She got the victory, walked out with 2 belts. She is Becky 2 belts, Becky Lynch, at number 1 of my top 5 women of the decade.
Nice. I like it.
Big sign here, and we talked about this. I know Ernest wasn't paying attention to that, and that was on our private group, our private chat. If you look at my list, a lot of these wrestlers came in the later half of the decade, because the beginning half of the decade, women's wrestling in WWE was a joke.
Yes.
The first show we watched of 2010, Royal Rumble, featured a 47-second match between
that you said was 8 minutes too long.
Yes, it was a 47-second match, but between the video segment, the entrances, the match, and the post-match segment, it was 8 minutes too long.
Yes.
It was terrible.
It was the Picky James. That was so bad.
Yeah, but then think about it. At WrestleMania, Vicky Guerrero was in an 8-woman tag match.
That match had the worst finish I've ever seen in my life, too.
Yeah, that was the greatest missed frog splash of all time.
My God, that was bad.
I felt like she was scared to land.
Yeah.
And then she was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna kill myself."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, I'm very scared for Vicky's life here."
Right.
So I can only imagine how bad it got from there. But then progressively, as the decade went on, we got some good things out of it.
Yes.
Michelle McCool is a really, really, really good heel in this time.
Yes.
She was fairly good in ring. I'm not taking anything away from her, but they never gave the women ample time to go out and prove themselves.
No, they still had them in like women's lingerie matches and stuff like that. Like that's.
Did they have a Judy Bagwell on a forklift match?
Oh God.
If
Oh,
not,
okay.
no.
So, again, I didn't write down a whole top 5. I'm bad at these things. But there's 2 names that I think deserve to be highlighted. I'm not saying they're number 1 and 2. I agree with everyone you put on your list. I might even put Asuka at number 1 on mine because I think she's friggin' awesome.
I do too.
But the 2 people that I would highlight, and ironically, and one of them's still wrestling, the other one's still around, just in a backstage capacity. They're both
so you're gonna go Sarah Del Rey.
Yup.
And you're gonna go Natty.
No.
Fuck.
Close though. I'm
Beth
going
Phoenix?
Sarah Del Rey and Awesome Kong.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
And honestly, all right. So here's the thing, right? Like you see Awesome Kong today in AEW. She's got the presence. She's got the look. Apparently, I think you guys said it last week. She's like injured as hell and can't really do that much anymore in the ring.
According to Mike,
she even
anyway.
had she was even on Glow for like 3 seasons. So, I mean, like she even branched out like into Netflix and stuff. So I mean, I think she deserves a lot of credit for her, being able to be recognized. She came into WWE earlier in the decade, was only there for about a cup of coffee, had a really cool moment in a Royal Rumble match, men's Royal Rumble match. And then ended up, I think, getting pregnant or something. She ended up not lasting in WWE, which I think is one of the all-time misses of people that they signed and then just didn't go anywhere. And and that it was more than just creative. That was, life getting in the way. But, I mean, she could have been one of the biggest women's stars ever because she was, like, right at the cusp of when they were starting to take it seriously in WWE. So I think she was almost there. But you can't ignore like the stuff that she did in ROH. You can't ignore the stuff that she did in TNA. Her and Gail Kim, and I think that might actually go to the previous decade. But her and Sarah Del Rey in ROH, I know they had some big matches in this decade. And they really were sort of like they were the first taste of like, oh wow, okay, this like women's wrestling can be friggin' awesome. And I like that to me was like the real like beginnings of what we have now in women's wrestling in WWE and AEW, and I mean even New Japan owns a women's wrestling company now and is going to at least highlight them on the pre-show of Wrestle Kingdom. That's huge, So I think without people like Awesome Kong and Sarah Del Rey, and I think Sarah Del Rey, honestly, I would arguably put her at number 1. Because as much as she never made it into the WWE as a talent, and as much as she never got to be like the women's champion, she never got to have her big spotlight, her WrestleMania moment, she is the person who's basically been helping to train most of the women that are having those moments for the last decade. And you know what? Like, this is one of those cases where I think, like, compliments to the chef. Like, I think she deserves a ton of credit for everything that she did in the ring, and then her stuff outside of the ring. I mean, I don't know that we would have women's wrestling like we have today without her. So.
Oh, no, absolutely. I don't think we would. I think you're absolutely right in that aspect. She's been an integral part of developing multiple women on the main roster, as well as putting over people on her way out of Ring of Honor and other promotions to help build them up, especially like Shimmer stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a big thing. So she may not get enough credit for that. So I have no problem with her being on the list. I don't know if Ernest was here full for my list, so I'll give him a rundown of mine so we can digest it.
Go ahead.
At number 5, I have Toni Storm, the former WWE NXT United Kingdom champion. At 4, I have Bayley. 3, I have Asuka. 2, I have Charlotte. And 1, I have Becky Lynch.
Okay. That's a solid list.
So that is the women's. That is the tag team. That is the men's. So our first half of this is over. We only went like 12 minutes too long. So yeah, guys, that's a record.
Where are we right now?
We have 3 topics left. We have moments, feud, and matches of the year.
Okay, and that's all.
So-
and that's between you and Joe, of course.
Yeah, you can chime in.
Okay.
So we'll start. Joe, you picked women, so I'm going to pick the next one, and I'm going to go with the feuds of the decade. At number 5, I have one from the Land of the Rising Sun. I have the feud between Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada.
Oh, okay.
Started off with the Golden Boy getting his first win. The New Japan fans did not like him taking the title off of Tanahashi. Tanahashi got it back, and these guys have had classics ever since. Hard-hitting matches. These guys give each other everything they have in the tank every time they go out there and wrestle. So I love the feud between the two of them. I know a lot of people are like, hey, I'm sick and tired of seeing the two of them wrestle every single Wrestle Kingdom. I will take them every time in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom because I know what I'm getting.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, I love Naito. Yes, I loved Kenny Omega in New Japan. I don't want Jay White versus somebody in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom if I know that I have the ace or if I have Okada in the gun.
I think what's interesting too with their feud, like the overall feud, as you pointed out, like, it kind of comes back every once in a while. And it comes back with like it's developed over time. Like you said, like at one point the story was Okada being like the up and coming young guy trying to get that first like big win over the established guy. And then like their last year going into last year Tanahashi's whole storyline was being like the older guy trying to prove he could still make it. And then Okada trying to, snuff out his dream in that sense. So I think it's interesting that, like, it still develops, like, new beats as the years go on, and hopefully still will for years to come.
Yeah. At number 4, a feud from NXT, Johnny Wrestling versus Tommaso Ciampa. I know the duration of this feud may not be the longest on this list, but the matches that these guys have had, from the Cruiserweight Classic with the ending of the two of them sitting in the middle of the ring, hugging while sitting down, that's been immortalized in T-shirts and pictures and things like that, to Johnny blowing his knee out against the Authors of Pain, and then Ciampa going heel and turning on him that same night. It was very organic. It was very real. And the fact that they took it a step further on social media and had Johnny's wife, Candace, play into it, posting things on Instagram and Twitter about how they let Ciampa stay with them. He was part of the family, and how are they going to explain this to the other people? That's a major factor in the feud of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. I love their match at NXT TakeOver in New Orleans. That is a little bit of a spoiler that did make my match of the year list. It is in the top 10 for me. So we'll talk about that match whenever that time comes. But they've also had great matches. The last man standing match, Ciampa retained his NXT title. They tried to become a team again. And then it ended with Johnny beating Tommaso. They were supposed to wrestle each other at TakeOver WrestleMania weekend, but Ciampa had to have neck surgery, which led to Gargano beating Adam Cole to win the title. And then Ciampa came out, and they had that embrace. So I feel like those guys, they're the modern day, and it's funny because I can transition to right into who I have at number 3. They're the modern day Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. They can be friends one day, and then they can kill each other the next day. I think it makes perfect sense. And at number 3, I have Sami Zayn / El Generico versus Kevin Owens / Kevin Steen. I felt like this one, because it branched everything. It went from Ring of Honor, where Kevin Owens put his contract on the line against El Generico's mask, to coming over and Sami finally winning the NXT title, only to have Kevin ruin his moment.
To be fair, it started in PWG. Like, that's how much it branches.
Oh, yeah. It branches through all the Canadian independents.
Yes.
I mean, those guys have feuded in probably 37 different companies when it's all said and done.
I sort of feel like those two in particular are the closest example in our lifetime that we'll ever have to like a Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, like taking their feud on the road to different companies, and like, you know, everyone just wants that act, them against each other. Like, we're, you know, not living in the territory days. I feel like we'll never see that again, and it's amazing that we got to see it with Steen and Generico.
Yeah, that's the thing. They either wanted them to kill each other or tag with each other.
Or both.
Yes, or both. Ring of Honor had them as the tag champs for a while, then had them turn on each other.
Yeah, exactly. We even got to see them wrestle as a tag team on SmackDown a couple of times.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, they literally, like, their act, whether they were, right, you're right, whether they were hating each other or loving each other, their act was just something that everyone wanted somewhere. And like I said, like, to me, there's something so classic, like, 80s territory wrestling about that, you know, I love that we got that in our lifetime. I don't expect we'll ever see it again.
No, unless it becomes Ciampa and Gargano.
But the funny thing is, like, Ciampa Gargano would have to leave WWE and take their act elsewhere to do it.
True.
Like, that's the thing. Like they weren't, Ciampa and Gargano weren't in like some crazy feud before WWE. You know what I mean? Like, Steen and Generico literally were killing each other all over the road, and then
they both
ended up in
WWE.
WWE.
That rivalry.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's you know, I think that, to me, it's the greatest feud of the decade for those reasons, honestly.
Well, I'm sorry. I have it at number 3.
Well, you're wrong, damn it.
That's fine. I can be wrong. I'm okay with being wrong every once in a while. I get it.
I know. I talk to your wife.
I know. I get it, too. Trust me. I talk to her every day. At number 2, I have another feud from the Rising Sun. It is Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. Those guys had, 7 matches that all were match of the year candidates?
Yeah, pretty much.
Every match was, how do we one up the last match? And when that's the take that you have to have as a fan, you automatically assume, okay, well, they're not going to top what they did. They never left you saying, man, that match wasn't as good as the one they had 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, no.
A year ago. 6 years. For some reason, when the two of them got in the ring, they looked at the film from the last one or whatever they wanted to do, and they would look and said, this is what we need to do to top it. And they found a way to get there. From Kenny not being able to hit the one-wing angel to finally being able to hit it the next match. Time limit draw. The 2 out of 3 fall, no time limit match that went 65 minutes.
I mean,
honestly, killed it.
They even had that, like, my favorite match from them, because I'm not a big fan of, like, really long matches. They had that one match that was only, like...
G1?
Huh?
What, the one at G1?
No. Was it a G1 match? I thought it was the Dominion one. I don't know. There was one that they had that was only, like, 26 minutes long. And to me, it's their best because, like, they just fucking went for it during that match. And, like, you're right. Like, I could watch them wrestle for an hour. I could watch them wrestle for 65 minutes. But them seeing what they could also do in 30 minutes, like, that was that moment where I was just like, okay, wow, these guys just got it.
Yeah, I want to say it was
definitely... I don't remember. I will say one thing, though, my last comment on these two. These are the guys that broke the Meltzer rating scale, so, I mean, they deserve some sort of credit for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I think it was the match that he beat Okada in. I think it was a...
So was that a G1 match?
I think it was a G1 match. I think he won the match. Which
makes sense, because those had a half-hour time limit, so...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like that one... Yeah, because it says right here, he won the 2016 G1 Climax and earned an opportunity to face Okada. Yeah, I definitely think that it was the G1 Climax match.
That makes sense.
I'm going to look to see if I can find...
So what's your number 1?
My number 1 feud of the decade is John Cena versus CM Punk.
Oh, hell yeah.
I thought that match was phenomenal. I thought that whole feud was great. I love those guys. The back and forth with the promos, the back and forth with, you're never going to be able to beat me. Well, you're never going to get the title shot. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm just a sucker.
Okay, what about yours, Joe? Your feuds.
I pretty much agree with you on everything. I think I would just maybe move it around a little. Like I said, Stan and Generico would easily be my number one, just because of how much their act that was able to just go on the road and be all over the place. And I mean, even the fact that they even eventually ended up in WWE and, and honestly, on multiple levels, like they did the feud in NXT and then they did the feud, on the main roster. And right. So, I mean, I think, I don't know any feud that gets better than what they've been able to do in the last year. And truthfully, they've also had amazing matches. I mean, their matches in ROH, their ladder match in PWG. I don't remember if that was this decade or if that was slightly before, but
I still think it was this decade.
It might have been 2009 or 2008.
Might have been.
I'm really not positive. I know the show, but I don't remember offhand. But I'm just saying, I don't know, there's something just epic about that feud, and I think it deserves a lot of credit. And I think there's been a lot of great stuff, feud wise and storyline wise, and the fact, like I said, just the fact that I feel like when you can take the same act and put it in front of different audiences and it still works every time, you're really doing something right. Because not every audience is going to like the same thing, but these guys were able to adapt to get every audience to pretty much be behind them.
Yeah, that I agree with. Definitely agree with that one. Also, I found the match. It is a 24-minute and 40-second classic from the G1 Climax in 2017.
Okay, there we go.
So that is the Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. 24-minute match if you don't want to sit through
65 minutes.
60, 40, 65, whatever you want to do from there. So that is the feuds of the decade. I think it only makes sense to go to moments now to finish with matches of the year. Or matches
I agree.
So my moments of the decade, number 5, Joe, you might get a mark out moment for this one. It comes salmon suit and all. It is the Mark Henry retirement fake out.
Yes.
See,
wait a second. Okay, wait. Hold on. Shut the front door. Ernest, have you seen that moment?
I've heard about it, never seen it though.
Okay. You need to go watch that before next week's show, and we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
Yes, that literally one of the greatest things that I think ever. Oh my god! Mark Henry has never done anything better in his career than fake retire.
It's funny. It's funny. I heard about that today. You know how? So Stone Cold Steve Austin on his podcast has his best of 2019 interviews and stuff, clips, whatever. Okay. And he had Mark Henry on the show actually this year, and they mentioned that on one of the clips.
That angle was incredible. It really just was.
Yeah. Fantastic. I loved every minute. At number 4, something that me and Joe got to witness firsthand for the first time in company history. Somebody cashes in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. Seth Rollins becomes Mr. WrestleMania, Mr. Money in the Bank.
Yes. Oh my god.
Joe can attest to this. He lost earlier in the night, and I looked at Joe and I said, he is cashing in tonight.
Yep.
And you're like, no, I don't think so. And the main event, it had its moments where there was a ton of action, and the Suplex City, Brock coming up with the tagline "Suplex City, bitch." It was awesome. But then there was just a moment where it got really, really dead and really, really quiet, and that music hit, and I think I jumped 7 rows in the air.
You and I both. You know me. Okay, wait a second. You know me. You've been coming to wrestling shows with me for what? Almost going on 10 years now. Correct. And not just WrestleManias. That's how we started, but we've gone to Ring of Honor shows. We've
Correct.
gone to, you know, like
Chikara.
almost. We've gone to Chikara. We
Evolve.
did that one $5 wrestling. Like we've done everything. You
Yeah.
know me. I'm a very muted person, believe it or not, when I'm watching wrestling.
Correct.
Like, you know, I'm not the one to like jump up in my seat and get super excited and stuff. When Seth Rollins' music hit, I swear to God, like 3 kittens just walked out my butt. Like,
Oh my God.
it was one of the most exciting things I've ever witnessed in my life. It is like literally one of my top 2 ever like live witness wrestling moments ever. It really is.
Yeah, when that happened, that whole place went batshit.
I now need to go research if my other one was in this decade because that makes my list. Wait a second.
Okay. Number 3, I have the debut of Nexus.
Yes.
Now, the debut itself is more or less what I want to say is moment because Nexus really fizzled out.
Very quickly.
They released Daniel Bryan the next day because he choked Justin Roberts with a tie. Only for him to come back like 6 months later and be part of Team WWE to beat Team Nexus at SummerSlam. But then it turned into they were like basically Wade Barrett's lackeys rather than equals. But the debut of those guys, like you could have put in those guys like you could have strapped the Rocket to them and made them the Shield of before the Shield, and they just basically turned them into Wade Barrett's security team. And that's even like Wade Barrett beating John Cena and making John Cena become a member of Nexus.
Right.
And it's still, it was just, it's like, I don't know if they gave up on a bunch of the undercard guys. I know Skip Sheffield, aka Ryback, got they had Husky Harris and who is now Bray Wyatt, and Curtis Axel, pre B team, joined them. Again, it's like they shuffled in guys so much as part of them, and then like they split them up, and some of them went to SmackDown and became the core with 2 R's. I thought that was really dumb.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
No, that is a you're right,
number
like,
2.
Let me just. You're right. That one is a moment that really is just the moment, because as soon as Brian got fired, like the next day, like it pretty much died.
Yeah, because that was the thing. A lot of the fans were like, "Oh crap, Daniel Bryan's going to be on WWE TV," and they're like, yeah, we had to cut him."
Yep.
What do you mean?
Exactly.
You cut the guy that had all the steam in the entire group. Now, if it would have eventually led to Barrett versus Bryan 6 months down the road or at WrestleMania or whatever, like you could have gotten there. And I think the two of them could have had a really good match together at WrestleMania. Now, we don't know if that was ever going to be the case because then they split them, like I said, and half of them went to SmackDown and became the core. Yeah, that was good. Number 2, the best promo of 2010 to 2019. It is the pipe bomb. CM Punk drops a nuclear missile on everybody. I love the fact that he cut the promo in a Stone Cold Steve Austin t-shirt.
Yes.
Big fan of him just sitting on the stage saying hi to Cole Cabana.
Nice.
I thought that promo, without a shadow of a doubt, was the best one of 2019. I felt like it definitely deserved to be part of the moments because it's probably one of the most iconic moments of 2019. When you ask 2010 to 2019, when you ask a fan, aka Earnest, who wasn't part of the everyday picture, when you think of the stuff that you didn't watch, it's Punk, it's the stuff over in Japan, and it's like John Cena.
Yeah.
That's the stuff you hear about. So I mean, I think if you don't have CM Punk in with
Exactly.
pipe bomb in 5, then I don't think you're understanding the way that football or assuming that wrestling really works. As there's a ruggedly good-looking Jimmy Garoppolo on my TV screen right now. That's why I said football. At number 1 moment, we were there for it live. It still shocks me to my core when I think about it.
I know this
Brock
one.
Lesnar ends the streak.
That is not what I thought you were going to say, but wow.
I know you thought I was going with Bryan winning the titles.
I really did. I really did thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, that one is that is number 6 for me. Because that is what saved that show. Brian winning the title.
Fair.
Because
same
that
show
moment. Oh, absolutely, it saved the show.
Absolutely. No, the same show. Isn't it? Was that the same show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he won the match, everyone was hyped because he was going to the main event, and then they sucked the wind out of the Superdome with Brock beating Taker, and then that's what saved the show at the end. Honestly, if I was going to take anything out, I probably would have taken the Nexus debut out.
Oh,
and
wow.
would have put that in, because I felt like the Mark Henry retirement thing was so iconic for the middle part of the decade.
It really
had to be in there. Seth Rollins cashing in at WrestleMania, it's just one of those things. I don't know if you could ever really take that out of that decade, because it was the first.
I agree.
Yes, it was the match that happened there. The pipe bomb again, it's so iconic. But Brock ending the streak, 21-1.
You're not wrong.
We were there, and the videographers accidentally played a thing that said 22-0.
Right.
Because they didn't even know what was going on.
Right.
Those guys had a great match. Not to take anything away from the two of them. Undertaker, I guess, hand-selected Brock Lesnar to be the one to beat him. If that's the case, then kudos to Brock for earning enough respect from Taker to be the guy that gets bestowed that honor. And I think that's the thing that needs to be portrayed here, is beating Undertaker at WrestleMania. For him to be willing to drop a fall to you, you have to be honored to take that.
Of course.
I know this is a fictional athletic contest, but a guy who's built enough prestige and stigma that is the Undertaker character, I feel like to win that match, you have to, understand that that's a very big honor.
No, listen. And the Oscars are just Hollywood masturbating, but you still feel good if you win an Oscar.
It's factual.
Right. That's it. No, you're absolutely right.
It's a great analogy, actually.
I loved all of your moments. I think Brian winning at WrestleMania 30 would be on there for me, just because that, as a Brian fan, that was just such a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're not that's the interesting thing, right? I think if you're not a Brian fan, maybe that's not an amazing moment. I think the Brock Lesnar thing is a moment, whether you like Brock Lesnar or hate Brock Lesnar. If you hated that decision, if you hated that match, you just can't take away that that's an iconic moment from the last 10 years. So I'll give that to you. The only other thing that I would add, and like I said it before, I had to look it up to see if it was this decade, and it sure as hell was. And this is a small one, but for me, I got extremely excited during it. It was when Eddie Edwards won the ROH World Title for the first time against Roderick Strong.
That was a good moment.
Huh?
That was a good moment.
Yeah, back in 2011, Manhattan Mayhem, I think 3 or 4. I don't remember which one it was. The thing about it for me with that show, and I would never forget this. I was there with my ex-girlfriend. It was a confusing time. Was
it a confusing process, buying tickets online for sports and tickets?
Oh, yes. There were extra fees and everything. So we I was a huge Eddie Edwards fan. I really was. I'm really I wish that he was more right now than what he is in TNA or Impact.
Did I send you that screenshot of how he looks? And I go,
you did.
What happened to Eddie Edwards?
Yes, you really did. I was just yeah. But no, he to me was one of my favorite wrestlers back then at that time in ROH, which was my favorite company at the time. And that match, that title defense on that random March ROH show at the Manhattan Center. It was right before WrestleMania weekend. It should have been nothing. It was one of those title matches where you expected the champion to easily win. Definitely not a title change. There was already some big moments in the show. A lot of people had already started to leave the show because that was going to be the main event, but everyone really just made that assumption of, well, Roderick's definitely going to win. And if you weren't a fan of Roderick or Eddie, then you had no real reason to stay because you weren't going to miss a title change. And then it happened. And it was so unexpected. Wrestling doesn't shock me very often, and at least not in ways that, are good. That shocked me. That shocked me in a way where, Like the same reaction that I had to Seth Rollins coming out in WrestleMania was basically the reaction that I had in the Manhattan Center. Only, there weren't 70,000 people with me and fireworks and, it wasn't
I know
big.
It definitely shocked you because I'm pretty sure you texted me right after Eddie won.
I probably did. At that point, you and I were definitely as close as we can be, and like you would have been my first text. Like, there's no question.
I think I was at work, and I think I opened the text message, and I was just like, "You kidding me?"
Yeah, it might be one of those things where I was even like, "Look, I don't care that I'm about to give you a spoiler. Like, you just need to share this with me right now." Like,
yeah, I think I was at work.
And the truth is, and I sometimes I sound really like I wax poetic sometimes on this show, but. Yeah. I don't really care. Like that's what wrestling's supposed to be. Yeah. Wrestling is supposed to be, for us, like as any entertainment is supposed to be. But as wrestling fans, as people who love this, like I want the moments where I can't wait to grab my cell phone and text my friends, text my brother, text people who I know who are as into it as I am. Now we have our group chat going. I'll text you guys, like I love that aspect of pro wrestling, and those moments are the ones that got that reaction.
I mean, hell, me and you have already set up a Skype date for next weekend for Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. All right, let's get. Are we all done with the best of decades?
We got matches of the decade.
I still think.
Okay.
I still think we should save matches for next week. Because I kind of want to do a little bit more research.
Okay, one more. Up to you guys.
What do you think?
You okay with that, Mikey?
Yeah, I'll save it. That's fine.
Okay.
I promise you. Wait, here's my promise. I will actually make a top 10 list between now and next week.
Okay. Because I have 10, and that gives me time to sit and figure out if I want to add a different match or two. Because there's one or two that I left out, and I'll spoiler alert it and say it was Shibata versus Okada. The match of Shibata. The match of Shibata against the brain injury.
Yes, yeah.
I went back and forth on having that and Dustin versus Cody from Double or Nothing at 10.
Nice.
So alrighty. I got to go back and watch the Shibata match. So I'm gonna need that NJPW login.
Yeah.
After the show. Okay. All right, Ernest. Bring your topic.
This will be pretty quick. Obviously. Basically, wanted to bring it a little current again and discuss, I guess, who are your top or favorite or best 5 heels currently in pro wrestling. I'll give mine. You give me an order if you want to. I did mine in order, actually. And I'm going to shock it number 5, actually. I think I told Mike this, actually, at work the other day. Do you know who number 5 is?
If it's not Nails, I'm not interested.
Oh, God, I'm out. Nails.
Yeah, King, Baron Corbin?
No.
He's got to be higher on the list.
Oh, he's much higher. He's on the list. The Revival. The Revival.
Oh, nice.
And let me tell you why. I don't think they get enough credit for, because I know that they're tag team. They can't get lost in the show because there's so much big tag team in the division. But they are classic heels. In the way like the 70s and 80s. When they walk down the aisle and they stick their hands under the fans and they pull it back right when they try to greet somebody, it's classic heeldom. It's not what you see currently. Yes, people might think it's boring a little bit, but they're a classic throwback to a time where I started watching, and everything about them, from not just the wrestling, but even the characters and even the way they are with the fans. And to me, I find that underrated now. I think as a heel, if you look at the other guys in the, obviously the Jerichos of the world, all that, the Revival is up there, man. But I don't think people think about that too much because they don't stand out as much. You know what I mean? So the Revival to me is the top 5 heels in the pro wrestling. Number 4 for me, I went MJF. Obviously, go ahead, Mike. Don't make fun of me now, MJF. Surprisingly, it's not higher on the list, right? But yeah,
he belongs on the list. Why are you mad about that?
The only reason why he's not higher on the list, though, is like
I'm not mad at it. I'm just annoyed with that stuff.
Yeah, I know. The reason why he's not higher on the list, though, honestly, is because he's not on TV enough. As I complained about the last week on the podcast, so he needs to be on TV more.
I can see that.
Yeah. So
okay, but I'm gonna counter argue the same thing that I counter argued the last time. He's one of 3 guys in the entire company that's getting microphone time. He can't be on the show every damn week, and then everyone want to complain that they're not building enough guys.
Well, I don't think the complaints are against the guys. I think the complaints that the formatting of the shows are like I said, the match is too long. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but it's not just the matches that are long. It's you got to stop giving Cody and Jericho 20-minute segments.
I agree with you. The
fact that the Inner Circle has a 25-minute segment almost every damn time. I'm tired of seeing Pride and Powerful and Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager standing there.
I'm with you, 100%. I agree with you 100% there. 3, I went The Fiend. Now, the funny thing is, The Fiend is actually kind of a tweener now, because this,
not a heel,
but yeah, he still is a heel. He still is. Dude, the guy is invading the Mrs. family. Leaving dolls next to his kids. I mean, that's
a psychopath.
That's a heel. That's beyond a heel, in my opinion. But again, he's well liked. Obviously. But I would still say, if you place The Fiend in 1998, he's a heel. Because the universe is so thirsty.
The reason why he's got to be a heel is because of that red light.
Right, right. That's true. No, the thing is, though, with The Fiend, though, the reason why I think he's the tweener, it might naturally, is because of the fact that people are thirsty for something new. They were thirsty for something new because they were tired of Seth Rollins.
Yes.
More than anything else. That's
I
why.
agree with that.
But his character's not a positive character. Hell no. So if you feed number 3 for me. Number 2, the King himself, King Corbin. I argue he's the best heel in the entire company. I've been saying that for a long time. When I got back watching wrestling in June this year, he stood out to me. And to me, I know he got lost late in the summer after the feud with Becky and Seth, but putting the crown on him was the best thing that ever happened to his career. Okay, they've utilized that crown in a way like, dude, I know it's early to say this now because he only had the crown for what a few months though. But I look at King Corbin and the impact he has as a king. It almost rivals Macho King, almost rivals King Harley Race, some of the classic kings of the 80s and in the 80s and 90s. And King Corbin, the character alone, makes that crown worthwhile. And I'm glad they did this time with him, and he's the right guy for that. So King Corbin number 2, and number 1, of course, La Champion, Chris Jericho. Come on, I don't need to explain to you guys why number 1 is Chris Jericho. Come on, it's you know why.
Yeah, okay, fine.
No, I agree. I agree. I think Jericho's definitely belongs at
Mike,
number 1.
Since I know you're gonna be the one that's gonna turn heads here, Joe. Let's see your list next. Let's hold Mike back a little bit.
Oh, that's cute. You also think I put together an actual list. I will say, I actually 100% more or less agree with your list. I actually can't think of anything. I can't think of anyone that I would switch out or put in. And I think Jericho does belong at number 1. I think something that Jericho doesn't get a lot of credit for, and he should, is he's not afraid to, do heelish things outside of the ring also. He's not afraid to cancel a live podcast because he didn't get his thank yous from the AEW, audience.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's next level heel, especially today when, like you said, everyone's kind of, they want to be the bad guys, but they also still want to sell merchandise. They still want to make sure that fans aren't actually pissed off at them. And I feel like Jericho, to a certain degree, he's okay with towing the line of well, let me see how far I can actually push it before people are actually mad at me.
Right, I agree with you there. By the way, do you remember? Did you see the last episode when he after the match against Jungle Boy, him and Shivani going back and forth? No, I didn't. Shut up, Skee-Vone. I love when he makes fun of his name all the time. I love it. Makes fun of Shivani's name. Skee-Vone, whatever it is. That's so great, dude. All right, Mike, go ahead, man.
All right, number 5. From the NXT Women's Division, newly turned heel at NXT War Games, I am taking Dakota Kai.
Ooh, fresh.
I love what she's doing in the heel role. I love that she's carrying around the knee brace and being this psychotic, head case. I think that she is absolutely through the roof. I'm gonna love her as a heel. I already know this. So easy pick for me at number 5. At number 4, I have the former NXT Women's Champion. I have the Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler.
Like that one.
At number 3, surprise to definitely you, Ernest, because he has that. I'm annoyed with him. Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
And you know, Mike, you're ridiculous. You know why? Not only you're ridiculous, you have him ranked higher than mine. Not only on your list, he's higher than me.
Because he's doing his job. You're sitting here saying he needs to be on the TV more. If he's on the TV anymore, he's going to go down my list. He's the fact that he is the second heel in an entire company, and you want him on the TV more.
Oh, I want him on TV more. I'm with Earnest on that.
Then they either need to get a second show at 6:05 every Saturday morning, or they
do have a second show. To be fair,
start using him on there. Then use him as a guest commentator. Give him other pieces to make him even bigger.
Have him do spots with Skivone and Jim Ross.
I mean, they've had Excalibur with Taz, Vicky Guerrero, and somebody else like
Sean Spears.
So let's be real here. You could use a week of MJF just running everybody down on commentary.
I'd be totally cool with that.
I guarantee you'd probably get the best ratings that an AEW Dark show gets in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
How about put the not created TV championship over on his waist or something? I don't know. Shit.
He has the $45,000 ring that he told everybody about.
I know, but we haven't seen him on TV in 3 weeks now. 2 weeks, whatever the hell long it's been. Just saying.
He took a vacation. He's better than you.
He was celebrating Hanukkah.
That's true.
He's better than you, and he knows it.
Oh, did you see the thing on social media with MJF with the AEW promotions on something at Christmas? I saw Hanukkah, jerk, whatever it was. It's funny as hell.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, you know what? You know why he didn't show up on TV the last 2 weeks?
Why?
You want to know why?
Why?
Because he's better than you and he knows it.
I like it.
At number 2 of the current heels that I have on my list, no, it is not Le Champion. It is the manager of Shinsuke Nakamura. It is Sami Zayn.
Oh.
He was somebody I consider putting in my top 5. Sami Zayn's awesome, and I think I know you and I disagree on this whole thing, but Sami Zayn's a manager, pretty fucking good. I love it.
I mean, I want Sammy the wrestler back because, as me and Joe talked about when we went over the feuds, I will always have a soft spot in my heart for the Kevin Steen El Generico feuds. So I will always have that in my mind. So anytime that I can get that.
Also, I'm all for Sami Zayn doing his whole thing in the down the way to the ring. His stage diving, whatever headbanging thing that Joe can't stand.
The one man mosh pit.
I love that. I love it.
He's too old to be doing that.
Oh, stop! How old is he?
Too old to be doing that.
Okay, I'm turning 40 and I still mosh.
He looks like me like 5 years ago at Warped Tour. Like, it's just not okay.
Dude, I'll be at Metallica in 4 months. I'm going to be doing the same bullshit when I get there.
Yeah, but Metallica is like, they're all 60 also, so it's okay.
Not yet. Almost. Not yet. Is Sami Zayn in his 40s?
No.
Okay.
He's probably in his like late 30s, though.
I'm older
like
mid-30s. I'm older than him, though. Okay. All right.
And at number 1, this one's fairly easy. It is the former constable. It is the king. It is Baron Corbin.
I'm surprised no jerk on your list, though, Bo.
I was going to say the same thing.
No.
No,
because
what?
At the end of the day, like,
he gets too much TV time.
It's not even that he gets too much TV time. It's what are they doing with his TV time? He's sitting there telling Shivani to shut up.
Skivone.
He challenged an 0-8 Jungle Boy. He's using the inner circle not the way he really probably should.
To sell champagne.
Yeah, I mean, literally, he's not even being a heel. He's really telling people that they're stupid idiots.
You got an argument. I actually see why, Mike. I'm not saying
that's an interesting take.
I actually agree with your take there. Not saying it's not to take him out of the top 10, top 5. But I will say this though: I feel like maybe AEW is holding back all of the good material for now because the pay-per-view is up in February, so you have 8 weeks leading up to the next Revolution. So
like
I
feel like from this point on, this week is when they take off really with the storylines.
I will say, if they don't put their foot on the gas right now, this week, they're in trouble.
I totally agree with you.
Real bad.
NXT is gaining a lot of momentum, and now NXT is now a third brand, and the more exposure it gets, and if Vince uses them in WrestleMania this year too, especially, that could be a problem.
But you know what's interesting? You know what's interesting to me though, just for what it's worth. In this conversation, like related to this conversation, and you mentioned Dakota Kai, but other than that, there's not exactly any like major like heels in NXT that are like that you really want to see get like beat the hell up now.
That's the era's tweeners, so that doesn't count.
Shayna, but like she just lost.
She just lost. You got the result you wanted. Yeah.
Yeah,
because she was probably like number 2 on my list, and she's fallen to number 4.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like they don't like NXT doesn't have like an MJF or like
the closest that you could get to being a quote heel would be like a Damian Priest, potentially like a Finn Balor.
The problem is too is that arguably the biggest heels in the company right now are tweeners, and that's Adam Cole and and those guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they are heels by nature, but they get a lot of support from the crowd too.
Ciampa was like the be-all, end-all heel, like best heel in WWE until he got injured last year.
Oh, he'll flip before Mania. Trust me, he'll flip for Mania.
You think so?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
He may flip after Mania because here's the thing: they're obviously gonna have a face beat Adam Cole.
Of course.
Who do you have taking the title off of Adam Cole? Let's just.
I'll tell you what. I tell you who's not taking off Adam Cole. It's not Keith Lee.
Probably Gargano.
Yeah.
So what is that after Gargano feuds with Finn Balor? Because you still have to have that.
I mean, Finn Balor is the other guy you consider being a major feud, a major heel right now. So I guess.
But if we're going with the assumption that Adam Cole loses the title Mania weekend, then we've still got one takeover prior to that. So you figure,
honestly, we probably lose the title to
who?
Velveteen Dream.
Ooh,
I'd be okay with that. I miss him.
Dream.
Is he
Dream
hurt?
win. Yes, he was.
He hasn't been on like any of the USA shows yet. I don't think.
No, I haven't seen him at all. I haven't seen him at all.
When he shows up, he's going to be a huge star.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. If Dream
that's
comes
a good
back,
case. Yeah,
wins the Royal Rumble and beats Adam Cole for the NXT title.
I can see that.
Then you have Ciampa maybe turn heel and have the heel Ciampa versus face Velveteen.
The bottom line now is that NXT has way too many baby favorites now, and then the heels who's supposed to be the biggest heels are actually tweeners.
Yeah, so. I agree.
So.
See, but I feel like that's the exact thing that happened with Ring of Honor. Like we were supposed to boo the Kings of Wrestling, but we loved what Chris Hero was doing.
Yeah, like Age of the Fall was like heels, but after from this decade, I don't know that ROH had, because this is the decade though where heels it's almost a new thing that heels are now trying to once again be heels, like MJF or Baron Corbin, because the Bullet Club were heels, but were cool, and
they sold as many T-shirts as the NWO has.
Right, and we kind of spent most of this decade with cool heels, like the Bullet Club. Everyone wanted to be in the Bullet Club, and almost everyone was.
By the way, when we're done this podcast, go to both of you guys. I tagged you on Instagram.
I just saw.
You just saw it? Yeah, this is what I'm talking about, the MJF thing I was talking about. Watch the end of it. It's really funny.
I'll look at it.
Anyway, was that the alarm? Was that the clock?
Yeah, that was the timer.
All right. Well, that's the last show of 2019, last show of the decade. We have only 5 shows in this podcast, but whatever. Who cares? Still counts.
We need our MVPs.
Oh, MVP. Oh, let me go first. My MVP is Brian Alvarez.
Oh,
that tweet. NXT 819,000, AEW 0. full stop.
Yeah.
Classic. That's all I gotta say about that. Great troll job.
That's good.
That was great.
Joseph?
My MVP of the week is the guy that was doing the job to Mitch Bennett in that video.
Wow. Lars.
Michael?
Right. I mean, I'm literally writing this down so that we can go back and look and see who our MVPs are. So, the first 5 shows: Shayna Baszler, Chris Jericho, Lana Dress, Rhea Ripley, and Lars Gay Lover.
That's yours, obviously. Joe?
It's not his lover. They made one video together.
Lars is Gay Lover, I guess, is what makes the most sense. My MVP
Allegedly
is a man who has finally captured gold. The MVP for myself is the new United States champion.
Yes,
It is Andrade.
Right.
Nice.
And by the way,
Very
I
big
like
fan
that.
of that.
I like that they gave him the belt. He's a great worker. I'm glad that they're giving him a chance to do something with it. Yeah.
Side
I'm a big
note,
fan of that.
the coolest wrestling T-shirt that I own is hands down the La Sombra T-shirt that I bought in Mexico City at a CMLL show like about 5 years ago. And La Sombra is now Andrade. That's why I bring that up now.
Okay.
That's why, yeah. But it's like, it's literally like I bought it like at like Arena Mexico during a Friday night CMLL show. To me, it's one of the coolest things I've ever done as a wrestling fan, and I love that I have that shirt.
Okay. Nice.
Hell yeah.
Well, anyway, for Joe, the real Joe Lopez on Twitter, which you will never find, even though he finds news there all the time. From Mike Bernier on Twitter at They Call Me Bern, BERN. And I'm Earnest Christian. Follow me on Twitter at EJChristian7. Gentlemen, we'll see you next year.
Arigato.
Later.
Later, guys.